It's now old news. John Mayer, well-known Fender guy, left and started up a relationship with Paul Reed Smith. Initially, they produced the luxurious Super Eagle private stock models that were ridiculously expensive with stunning wood and highly nuanced electronics that would be totally lost on a player like me. But then they turned their attention to the more accessible signature guitar, the Silver Sky. They're not trying to hide the fact it's based on a Stratocaster. It's just been reimagined for the 21st century, and let's be honest, the controversy made for good marketing. I've had this beautiful 2019 Dodge and Blue model for almost a year, and before that I had the 2018 Frost model on loan. I've been playing it a lot in videos and I'm using it to record my next single, and there have been questions. So here I am to answer them. But if you don't know by now, my name is Mary Spender. I am an English singer-songwriter, and the song I am tracking throughout this video will be called Back on Land. Oh, and thank you to my Patreon supporters for submitting the following questions, but let's roll the intro. Let's get to the neck first. Both Diana and Jerry have asked me to compare it to my Vigier GV Rock. Was it a difficult transition playing the Silver Sky when you were used to your Vigier because the fretboard radiuses are drastically different? And Alaya asked how I felt about the neck, as she'd found it surprisingly comfortable and natural to maneuver around. So the radius on the Silver Sky is 7.25 inches, the 635JM profile, and on my GV Rock by Vigier it's 11.81. So what exactly is the radius? It's the measurement of the arc of the fingerboard across its width. The lower the measurement, the greater the curvature. So my Vigier is super flat in comparison to the Silver Sky. And the Silver Sky's fingerboard radius is a vintage era spec that originated in the 1950s. John Mayer is a vintage guitar connoisseur with particular preference towards models and specs from the 1963-64 era, so this choice has been well thought out. It also has 22 frets and a double action truss rod with a headstock adjustment. I found it so remarkably comfortable, I decided to do the blindfold test last year and see how I felt navigating it. It felt good. It's just a very different tool to my Vigier, which also has a different scale length, so I don't think I can really compare them at all. Jared asks what wood is the neck made of. It's maple with an East Indian rosewood fingerboard. The body is made out of alder. Gary asks, have you tried the maple fingerboard versions? Yes, but only very quickly at NAMM in January, and they look lovely. I'm just more of a rosewood girl, but there's already quite a lot of flexibility in terms of look on this guitar. Think of all the different paints. I mean, who didn't fall for the limited edition Nebula version? Cameron asks, do you notice a big difference between the Strats you've played compared to the Silver Sky? The consistency and quality of Fender Stratocasters is all over the spectrum, depending on the eras and then different models out there, because they've also been around for so long and the brand has evolved. Finding a guitar that really does it for you might take a little more searching than you'd expect, and that's what I've found. I don't love every Strat I pick up. However, I like the Silver Sky because I'm ready to be invested in the expertise behind this guitar and basing it on something that would be unattainably expensive. You know, something you might find on the top shelf of Chicago Music Exchange. So I'm buying into this signature model of an artist I admire, as everyone who usually buys a signature guitar, they want to feel a bit closer to the named artist, and you want something true to what they have in their hands. Even if tone is in the fingers, we all know that, it's just a cool thing to share with them, and the 635GM pickups are carefully wired to sound worn in, much like the super duper expensive Strats I've played. Hayden asks, have you ever tried John Mayer's signature Fender Strat? I haven't. I know I've been close to it. I've heard they are very, very similar, but No, not yet. Jay asks if there is any meaning or symbolism to the different bird images on the neck. The bird symbols are the easiest way to recognise a guitar is by PRS. It's their trademark, and I think it's a beautiful addition to the fretboard, and of course there is a story behind it, as Paul Reed Smith's mother was supposedly a bird watcher. When he was just 20 years old, he designed a guitar for Peter Frampton before he actually started the company, and that's where the idea was born. If you look closely, you'll find they're all different, but on the Silver Sky, they're slightly smaller than on other PRS models. It starts with a peregrine falcon and ends with an owl on a branch. They're so iconic, fans of PRS get tattoos of them. They're solid on the rosewood necks and hollow on the maple versions of the Silver Sky. Ted asks, the shape of the body below the high E string seems to be cupped out. Do you find this to be helpful as you play on the higher frets? Again, the lower horn scoop is another trademark of PRS. It definitely makes it easier to play the higher frets, and it's just a lovely aesthetic touch. They've also reversed the headstock to allow extra access on the underside of the fretboard by the nut. Ryan asks, what pedals or amps do you find complement the Silver Sky the best? The same amps that complement any single coil guitar. I think it sounds spectacular through my rig of the Orange Rocker 15 Terra, yet that isn't a stereotypical choice, so when I had the chance to borrow a 2-rock, obviously it was the first thing I plugged in, and I enjoyed every second of that experience. However, when I DI straight into my Apollo X4 and open up the plug-in world of universal audio, it proves itself to be really flexible, as expected. Think of how many different genres you've seen the Fender Stratocaster in. This is still a super versatile instrument, it's just slightly more fine-tuned to John Mayer's taste, so I think it'd be hard to find an amplifier it didn't work with. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Chris, Mark and Scott all had similar questions about the influence it's had on my guitar playing, as well as asking how I decide when to use a Strat style single coil guitar versus anything else in the music making process. It's definitely made me write on electric more often, and I think my ears prefer the single coil sound, so I'm drawn to it in my studio. However, the cool thing about my Vigier GV Rock is that it offers Strat-like tones within the humbuckers, thanks to core splitting. Like, I love the warm neck tone that you can get. I can plaster that sound on any of my songs and I think it works. When it comes to guitar choice when writing and recording, the reason I'm using the Silver Sky for a track like Back on Land is because I want a round, colourful tone for the fingerpicking part. The top end is tamed and not too brash, giving it a really clear sound, perfect for quite a busy part. You have to reverse engineer the song to decide where to go in terms of guitar choice. This is just suitable for the feel I'm going for in this particular song, but I don't believe there's a wrong choice. Whatever makes you feel like you're communicating the guitar part best and making the song work as a whole will do. The artist gets to make the decision after all. Mark asks if you use the trem much. No, not really. I'm more in the habit of using a fixed bridge, that's what I'm used to, but here the steel bridge plate rests on the body in neutral, meaning it can only be bent downwards. This also supposedly improves the resonance too, and it's there if I want to start incorporating it into my playing more. Cody says, I happen to own the Frost Silver Sky. I bought it based off a review that you had done when they first came out. Yay! In 30 years, is this a guitar that everybody is going to seek for its quintessential tone? Well, firstly, I hope you love it. Secondly, this is a cool question as it's like asking the meaning of life but applied to guitars. I think taste will continue to evolve when it comes to guitar playing and sound. I don't think the guitar is going anywhere in general, but who knows where this particular signature model will be. Thinking of John Mayer's already long career though, I wouldn't be surprised if his type of tone is still relevant and pleasing to the ears, so maybe this is something guitarists will be searching for all over again in 30 years' time. I do, however, think there'll be more amendments yet. I wouldn't be surprised if they're thinking of their next collaboration and something that will also be future-proofed and for the next generation of players. Okay, hopefully that answers your questions. Now for the things I think could be improved. I love the headstock, but I don't really like the tuners. The grey plastic cheapens the guitar, and this guitar is not cheap. Can't we just have something chrome or nickel or something else shiny? My headstock adjustment plate does sometimes come loose, and it rattles, but it's easy enough to retighten, of course. But then my blade pickup switch did crack and break off, and I take care of my guitars and haven't had this happen before, so I've ended up super gluing it back together, but surely that could be made out of sturdier material. These are small things that could be changed really easily, and I know I'm not the only one that thinks so. Thank you for watching this video. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so, and check out the links below for my guitar course, Patreon page, and links to my music. But otherwise, I'll see you soon.
For sleeping with her, for proving me right. I need to trust myself more.